Hello and welcome. I'm Zach Dalton from Rio Products. At Rio, we're frequently asked which knots are our favorite knots, which knots have the highest breaking strains, and which knots work best for a certain situation. We've decided to produce a series of videos that highlight which ones are our favorites, and we're going to segue right into knots to attach to your fly.
The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
First one that we're going to highlight is the clinch knot. To start the knot, pass the tag end through the hook eye. I like to start by wrapping the tag end away from me. I'm going to go with fewer turns on this knot, so 3 turns. Pass it back through the gap that's near the eye of the hook. Grab the tag end, draw down as much slack as possible. Your knots are always going to have more strength when you remove as much slack as possible prior to tightening them. At this point in time, I'm going to lubricate the knot, get a good grip on this large diameter material, and draw the knot nice and tight. And you'll know you've tied a good clinch knot when this tag end comes off of the standing leader material at a perfect 90-degree angle. I'll clip that reasonably short, leaving approximately 1/4 of an inch because of this large material to prevent it slipping back through. If you're using a smaller wire hook or a finer wire hook, I'll increase the number of turns to about 5, and I can trim my tag end a little bit shorter. That's the clinch knot. Here's the clinch knot tied directly to an actual fly. I've got a tag end that's a little bit longer, about 1/4 of an inch, and I've got about 5 turns on this knot here. And that's the clinch knot. It's one of my preferred knots for dry fly fishing, small nymph fishing. It has a very small profile and works great for a wide range of applications. The clinch knot.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 9.42 pounds, which equates to 89% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
The next knot we're going to tie is the improved clinch. It's real similar to the clinch knot, but in this instance, we're going to lock the tag end to prevent it from slipping out. To tie this knot, we'll simply pass the tag end through the eye of the hook, leave about 6 or 7 inches, take the tag end and wrap away from us, and we'll do 3 turns with this because of the diameter of the tippet material we're using. We'll pass this back through the loop at the eye of the hook. We'll draw the slack down nice and tight and try and get as much out as possible. And then we're going to double back because we've created another loop from our twist and pass that tag in through that loop. And that's what's going to lock that tag end and prevent it from slipping. Draw down to the eye of the hook. Here's where I'll want to moisten the knot. Get a good grip, draw nice and tight. This knot, the tag end doesn't seat like the clinch knot. It doesn't come out at a perfect 90-degree angle. It's going to come out at a little bit wider angle, but that's just fine. I'll come in and clip that nice and tight. With the improved clinch, you can clip it nice and tight because that tag end's locked in to prevent it from slipping, and that's the improved clinch. On the big material, taking a look at it, you can see that the tag end is trimmed nice and close. I like to use this knot for a wide range of dry fly fishing and nymph fishing applications, about the same situation that I would use the actual clinch knot in, but if I'm using a little bit heavier wire hook. Like I said, that locked tag end will prevent it from slipping out. It's a great versatile knot for a wide range of fishing situations. That's the improved clinch.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 7.04 pounds, which equates to 66% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
The non-slip loop knot is an excellent knot for attaching a fly to a tippet, and particularly good for larger flies and slightly heavier tippet materials. I like this knot for steelhead flies, for my trout streamers, and my saltwater flies. So it's a great knot for those larger flies and those stiffer tippet materials. And it's a very easy knot to tie. You start the knot without threading your hook on and tie yourself an overhand knot in the end of the tippet before you thread on the hook. Don't pull it tight and tie it about 4 to 5 inches from the end of the tippet. Then thread the hook and double the line back on itself and poke the tag end through the non-slip knot here as though you are undoing it. So you kind of look which way here, see that comes out that way. So I thread it in, undoing it. I then slide it up tight, but not tight, kind of like to about there. One tip for me, it works really well, is I pinch this with my finger there, that's to lock it. Turn it around, and then 4, 5, 3 turns, whatever you like, around the standing end here, just with a tippet tag end. Once you've got your tag ends tied, you then take your tag end here, put it through the knot again as though you are undoing it. Hold it tight, this tag end here, you want to hold it tight. Kind of let the knot form like so. And then you either lick it, or I prefer to use chapstick myself. I think knots slide out a lot better with chapstick. So just a little smear of chapstick, kind of like that. And then once you've got your knot formed like this, you can let the tag end go, hold the hook, and just pull and really wrench it down. This is 50-pound slick shooter, so you really need to pull it down. But you can see what happens when it does. And that is a non-slip loop knot. And what is cool about this knot, what's so beneficial about this knot, is because it's a loop, your fly can move very freely around in the current. So if your line is in the current and you're stripping your line, the fly moves around very freely. It's not hinged and pinched as it is with a clinch knot. So now let's look at that tied in a regular 10-pound steelhead tippet material. Here it is. As I said to you earlier on, what I really like about this knot is the freedom the fly has to move around within the knot. When you compare that to a clinch knot or an improved clinch or something, you'll find that this knot tightens right down on the neck of the fly, and that allows the fly to swivel around and be locked at a very strange fishing angle. So sometimes you can just find when you're fishing these clinch knots that the fly will fish at a strange angle, and for me that is enough reason to utilize this non-slip loop knot, because I think it just gives you that better fishing in the water.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 8.43 pounds, which equates to 80% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
The turl knot is a knot, quite an old knot, that is designed to attach a fly to a piece of leader or tippet material. It's a knot that's got a particular benefit. It's a knot that I like and use a lot, but before you go over those benefits, let me show you how to tie it. You start off by taking your hook, taking your tippet and threading it through. And we're using this giant meat hook here just so you can see it, and this bright green 50-pound slick shooter, so it's a very visual way of tying the knot, and then you can see it afterwards in the right fly and tippet material. So once you've threaded it, the first thing to do is thread the fly right out the way. It's got nothing to do with the knot at this stage of the game. You're going to come back to the tag end, and being a right-handed tyer, I like to have my tag end pointing to my right, and I have about 8 to 10 inches hanging out from my left hand. And I just fold a little loop round the back of the standing end and pinch it with my left thumb and index finger. I then use my left middle finger to tighten that loop and keep a little tension here. And then this tag end is going to come over the top and then come up from underneath around this right hand leg. Once, twice. 3 is absolutely plenty. And then you tuck it through, going down the loop that where your thumb is to here. And then I just kind of tighten the knot like this, tightening the tag and opening the loop until it gets to a point where it's tight but not closed. And this is the point where you lick it, or this is the point where you put your chapstick on. And then you just tighten this knot until it is completely sealed and closed like that. Now you've created a slip knot. So, once you've got a slip knot, this is the right time to chop your tag off because it's far enough away from the feathers of your fly. So you'll chop your tag, but you'll see why you actually leave a bit of a tag here. There's a reason for that. So there's a bit of a tag here left in, and we're going to come back to the hook that's kind of slipped off, but we'll just put that on here, and we'll slide the hook back to meet the noose. I'm going to strangle it. It's going to go over the back of the hook like this and come up. And as you tighten it, that noose is going to strangle around the neck of the hook and lock like that. And that is the turtle knot. And the reason you can see it it alters the angle. This is why you don't want it on a straight eye hook, because your monofill is coming up out of the eye and it's going to give your fly a very funny set in the water. Let me show you that on one I've tied a little earlier with a steelhead fly, an up-eyed steelhead fly. Here it is. And you can see how that monofill comes straight out of the eye, a nice straight line, and it's aligned so that that will fish well in the water. And one of the reasons I like this, particularly over a clinch knot, is that the clinch knot tightens down against the eye, and it's like 2 links of a chain, and the knot will slide around and can jam up against one side. So with a clinch knot, you can get your tippet coming out at a funny angle. With a turtle knot, you'll always get this true straight pull. So you get a nice swing and a nice, presentation of your fly in the water. One of the assets of this knot, is that it's a great knot particularly for tying on little small flies like this spider here, this soft hackle spider. So you can tie the spider on like that, a little soft hackle. And the turtle knot's a great knot for that. It's great on dry flies. It's good on very small flies up to medium-sized steelhead flies. And then above that, I tend to use the non-slip loop knot. One thing to know about the turtle knot is that the turtle knot does have this jam, if you like, that stays in the eye of the fly. So let's say you're fishing away and nothing happens. You don't catch anything. I have no idea what's going on. Blame the fly. So it's not catching anything. You chop the fly off, stick it back in your box, and then next time your fly finds favor or kind of looks like the fly of the day for you, you go to thread the fly on, and what you'll find is that knot is still in the eye, and you'll be just kind of stab, and I can't get this in, it's pushing because the knot's blocking it. So the reason you left a tag is very simply, you just grab that tag, pull the knot off, the knot comes off in your hand, throw that knot away, and your fly is now ready to put back in the box for action. So, let me show you how to tie that knot very quickly, because there's a good tip I can give you on this that you couldn't see with that big hook on there. So I'm going to run through this just real fast, tie this on with this bit of 10-pound tip material. And this tip is particularly useful because of the feathers. You know, when you fish a fly, it's got feathers. So here we go up and round, middle finger in, 1, 2, 3 turns, stick it in through here, tighten the knot, little dab. Yeah, I've tied that so efficiently I don't even need to cut the tag off. Slide that back, and it's at this point that the knot becomes perhaps dangerous to your fly. If you were just to thread this noose over the fly and tighten it, you could squash all these feathers and fibers, and they all sit out at strange angles and it just doesn't feel right, the fly. So what I like to do is before the noose goes over the fly, I like to take my right thumb and index finger, put it through the noose, and just grab all the feathers of the fly, covering them all up. They can't get squashed by the loop that time. And I leave the head and the neck of the fly protruding. And then as I tighten this, what will happen is the noose will slide down this finger and my thumb. And you see, it just jams up on the neck of the fly. So that way, because you've physically trapped the feathers, there's no way that the feathers are going to get squashed. Your fly sits nicely, it fishes nicely, you haven't got hair sticking out all over the place. so you can fish with confidence. So that is the turtle knot, my favorite knot for fishing pretty well any fly that's got an up eye or down eye.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 9.75 pounds, which equates to 92% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
This knot is the trilene knot. We use this for a hook connection. It's a very strong, versatile knot that I like to use for big, bushy dry flies that I'm casting to the bank because of its resilience and high strength. To tie the knot, I'm going to take the tag in, pass it through the eye of the hook, and I'll leave myself about 7 inches or so of tag end. I'm going to take that tag in and pass it through the eye of the hook a second time, and I'm going to draw that down, leaving a small loop down by the eye of the hook. From here on out, it's just like the clinch knot. I'm going to take my tag end, I'm going to wrap it around my main line about 3 times, and then I'm going to come back and tuck that tag in through both loops at the hook eye. I'm going to try and draw as much slack out by pulling on both the tag and the leader end. Take and moisten the knot before I tighten it, get a good grip, and draw nice and tight. With the trilene knot, you can clip the tag really close so you don't pick up debris or grass off the bank. Very nice profile, very strong knot. All right, and here's the trilene knot tied on a shrimp pattern. Like I said, it's a very good knot for big, bushy, dry fly fishing during a salmon fly hatch or sea trout fishing with a shrimp pattern. Very versatile, resilient, high-strength knot. That's the trilene knot.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 10.48 pounds, which equates to 99% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
This knot is the Homer Rhodes loop knot. It's a wonderful loop knot for saltwater fishing applications. I like it for tarpon flies, permit flies, bonefish flies. It's super easy to tie. You can do it on the front of a flats boat. You don't have to send your line back to the captain to get it tied. To start the knot, simply tie an overhand knot in your tippet material. Grab your fly, take your tag end, pass it through the eye of the hook. Then you're going to take your tag end and pass it through your first overhand knot. You can draw this down fairly close to the eye of the hook to help control your loop diameter. At that point in time, take your tag end and tie another overhand knot around both strands. Draw that down nice and tight. And I can kind of squeeze the second loop down to a small diameter that I'd like. Get both materials nice and tight. Pull nice and tight, and that's the Homer Rhodes loop knot. I can come in, you can leave a fairly ample tag end, and that's your Homer Rhodes loop knot. Here's the loop knot tied on a bonefish fly. Great range of movement when you're dragging the fly, rarely fouls. That's the Homer Rhodes loop knot.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 8.09 pounds, which equates to 76% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. The following knot was tied in a sample of Rio's 10-pound steelhead salmon tippet material and tested on our Instron machine to illustrate its relative breaking strength.
The Pitson knot is a great knot for general trout fishing applications, whether it's dry fly, nymph. It's quick, easy to tie, and gives you a distinct audio recognition if you've tied the knot correctly. To tie the knot, pass your tag in through the eye of the hook. You'll want a fairly long tag end, about 10 inches or so. Take that tag in, double it over itself, and form a loop. Take that loop, and you're going to wrap that around your main leader line 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. Take that loop and take your tag end. You're going to take your tag end and pass it through the loop right there. You're going to draw that down, draw the slack out of the loop as such. Then I take and lubricate the main line with some saliva all the way down to the knot. And take and get a good hold of your leader line, draw that all the way tight, and you'll know that that knot's seated when you've got a very nice distinct V. And on smaller tippet material, you're going to have a little audible pop when that knot seats into position. You can trim your tag relatively close. That's your Pitson knot. Here's the Pitson knot tied on a light saltwater fly. Like I said, it's good for smaller tippet material applications. I would call it best suited for 0x and smaller, and it makes a really nice profile on a dry fly for dry fly fishing applications. That's the Pitson knot.
On a single Instron test, this knot broke at 9.41 pounds, which equates to 89% of the tensile strength of the nylon it was tied in. Rio. Make the connection.